On November 8th, 2018, a bus driver in Paradise, California did something that could have been lifted straight out of a disaster movie, except it wasn't fiction. Kevin McKay got behind the wheel of a yellow school bus, loaded up more than 20 children, and drove them through the inferno of the campfire, a blaze so destructive it practically erased an entire town from the map. What happened over the course of the next 5 hours was a desperate race against time, suffocating smoke, and gridlocked roads as McKay and a teacher worked together to get those kids to safety. Fast forward to today, and Hollywood has done what Hollywood does: turn that nightmare survival story into a feature film. It's called The Lost Bus. It stars Matthew McConaughey as the bus driver, and yes, you probably already hear his signature drawl in your head when you imagine him saying, all right, let's get these kids out of here. The movie dropped on October 3rd, 2025 on Apple TV+, while also making limited rounds in theaters. And it is already generating chatter because it sits right at that intersection of tragedy and inspiration that audiences can't look away from. Hollywood loves nothing more than a disaster tale with a hero who rises to the occasion, and McKay's real-life actions during those horrific hours of the campfire checked all the boxes. A regular guy, not a firefighter or a cop, just a school bus driver, suddenly thrust into the role of protector and leader when everything around him was collapsing. If it sounds cinematic, it's because it is. But of course, the reality was a lot messier, quieter, and scarier than the big screen makes it look. McKay himself has been refreshingly candid about what's fact and what's fluff. In interviews, he has said the movie does capture the raw intensity of being trapped in a firestorm, the emotional panic, the way time stretched and shrank in those hours, but some of the flourishes? Pure Hollywood. The movie wants us to believe he was forced to make a Sophie's Choice-style decision between saving the children on the bus and rescuing his own mother and son. That might make for a good scene, but in real life, his family was already on their way out of paradise, not waiting for him to choose. Then there's the sequence where looters apparently pulled guns on him to hijack the bus. McKay has laughed at that one, clarifying that no one tried to Grand Theft Auto a bus full of school kids while paradise was burning to the ground. There was plenty of chaos and real looting happening in the area, but his own journey didn't feature any Wild West shootouts. What did happen was almost stranger than fiction in its simplicity. The kids on the bus were panicked, scared, crying, some of them struggling to breathe in the thick, ash-filled air. McKay and a teacher with him, Mary Ludwig in real life, played by America Ferrera in the movie, had the children soak pieces of cloth with water bottles, hold them over their mouths, and breathe through them. A low-tech, last-ditch method that might not look glamorous on film, but probably save lives. That tiny detail grounds the whole story in reality. Heroism sometimes isn't about explosions or last-second rescues, but about improvising with a water bottle and a towel in the middle of Armageddon. Hollywood naturally can't resist cranking up the volume. In The Lost Bus, there are intense cutaways of the bus creeping past walls of fire, desperate people running and screaming, ash falling like snow in a horror movie. Some of that was real, no question. Paradise that day looked like a dystopian nightmare, and survivors have described it as a living hell. But McKay has noted that filmmakers weren't shy about piling on extra drama. He even said they wrote in a scene where he drives past people literally on fire. Did he see things like that? Maybe, maybe not. But the movie is less concerned with precise documentation and more with leaving viewers white-knuckled. There's also the McConaughey factor. The man has made a career out of playing every kind of laid-back philosopher, reluctant hero, and cowboy type imaginable, and here he gets to flex a different kind of muscle. Reviews have pointed out that he plays McKay not a swaggering, life-than-large rescuer, but as a blue-collar everyman just trying to do the right thing. McKay himself has said he was impressed with the portrayal, even if some of the personal details got jazzed up. The movie throws in a subplot about him grappling with Gree, a rocky family relationship, even a dog, none of which line up exactly with his actual life, but Hollywood loves giving its heroes a little extra angst to cue on. Meanwhile, America Ferrera as Mary Ludwig brings warmth and grit to the story. In the film, she's the one keeping the kids calm, singing songs, cracking jokes, holding it together when their world is literally burning down. McKay has praised that part of the portrayal since, in reality, Ludwig was a steadying force on the bus, helping the children stay as calm as possible. If McKay was the driver, Ludwig was the heart, and Hollywood at least got that balance right. So, what does the real McKay think about all this? He's philosophical. He acknowledges that the movie isn't a documentary, and he doesn't expect it to be. He knows audiences want drama and studios want ratings. Still, he believes the film captures the essence of what that day was like. Terrifying, chaotic, surreal. He appreciates the survivors at the campfire were invited to participate, some even making cameo appearances in the movie. He himself had filmed a small role as a parent, though it ended up on the cutting room floor because, even in his own movie, Hollywood couldn't resist trimming the bus driver. What makes all this especially poignant is that McKay lost his home in the campfire. He risked his life to get those kids to safety, then returned to find nothing but ash where his own life had been rooted. In the year since, he has reinvented himself as a high school teacher in nearby Chico, and in a strange twist, the very same yellow bus he drove out of paradise that day is still part of the district fleet, hauling kids to school every day like it never once carried 20 lives out of the apocalypse. The timing of this movie's release is also significant. We are just past the 7-year anniversary of the campfire, the deadliest and most destructive wildfire in California history. For many survivors, the scars are still fresh. Watching their trauma replayed on screen, however well-intentioned, is bound to be complicated. Some will find it cathartic, a way to honor the resilience of those who lived through it. Others will no doubt find it exploitative, Hollywood making entertainment out of devastation. This is the eternal tension of based on a true story cinema. Where does commemoration end and sensationalism begin? But there's another side to this, one that explains why people keep showing up for stories like The Lost Bus. At the core is the undeniable fact that regular people sometimes rise to extraordinary challenges. We love those tales because they remind us that in the middle of chaos, someone might step up, someone might hold the wheel steady, someone might keep the kids breathing with nothing more than bottled water and determination. In an age of superhero blockbusters, the real heroes sometimes are the ones who clock in every day driving a bus. The humor in all of this, if you can call it that, comes from how Hollywood can't help itself. It's not enough that a guy drove a bus full of kids through the deadliest wildfire in state history. No, let's give him a tortured backstory, throw in some armed looters, a dog that may or may not exist, and crank up the soundtrack until your heart rate spikes. McKay himself has chuckled about some of the liberties taken, acknowledging that's weird to watch your own life spiced up like a Netflix thriller. And again, if Matthew McConaughey ever played me in a movie, I'd probably let him embellish too. Wouldn't you? Still, the movie shines a light on something worth remembering. Paradise was destroyed in a matter of hours, and thousands of people lost everything. The campfire wasn't just a story of one bus, it was a story of whole communities fleeing together, of neighbors helping neighbors, of tragedy on a scale California had rarely seen. The Lost Bus narrows its lens to one man, one busload of children, and what impossible escape. That doesn't tell the whole story, but it does tell a story worth telling. Whether you think the dramatizations were too much or just enough, the fact remains, Kevin McKay is alive, those kids are alive, and the legend of the school bus that outran a firestorm will live on in both memory and movies. And maybe, just maybe, next time you see a yellow bus chugging down the road, you'll look twice and think that driver could be somebody's superhero. And with that, thank you for riding along on this journey through the flames, the facts, and the fiction. Don't forget to subscribe to Inside Hollywood for more stories where real life collides with the silver screen.